You get into music at that point. Are you like watching hip hop kind of come to life in your neighborhood as well? Is that a thing that's also happening around you?
So this is the late '80s. So crack is very prevalent, and you know, going to the park, school parks. I remember seeing needles on the floor. I remember seeing color tops. I remember playing with the homies. We weren't we. I guess we could call each other homies, but we was playing in the puddles. With the fire hydrants in the summer, in the in the projects, we would play basketball in the hallway. If it was too cold outside, we were playing in the hallway. So the light on each end of the hallway was the basket. So we would try to dunk on each other like that. Ain't nothing like peeing in the staircase, peeing in the elevator, running around playing tag, stealing these bikes. We did all in the Bronx and in Harlem. And that's basically that's how I grew up. That's how I grew up. And that was hip hop. That was hip hop. Taking something that was nothing and making it into something. That was hip hop. Seeing the trains filled with graffiti, you know, going down to 42nd Street, seeing that it wasn't Disney-fied, it was porn, and it was drug addicts. Like that was hip hop. That was what hip hop was. So I saw all of that. That was what New York was about at that time.
And that's like just so that people understand a really young guy seeing this. Like that's the environment.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to capture that kind of stuff because I mean, personally, I know a lot of people don't know a lot of stuff about that. So thank you so much for sharing it. Just always feel free to talk about that kind of stuff here because I'm super fascinated about learning it. It helps us all get more context, and I think context is really important to create change in the world. Um, so yeah, as far as that goes, so you're young. Are you like instantly interested in creating the music, or are you also just like are you a fan for a while before you start to desire to create?
I'm a fan for a very long time. From '88 until about '95, I was a fan.
Mm,
And, you know, I was cool with the kids in the neighborhood, but in school it was a little different. Even though I was going to my zone school, there were still kids who weren't from around that area that would go, and they would sometimes be more popular than me. So I went to IS 131, which was an intermediate school. I would say around the sixth grade, maybe eighth grade, sixth grade, eighth grade, between those times. Um, I remember Bone Thugs and Harmony was out, and not only was Bone Thugs out, so this is a story, right? Not only was Bone Thugs out, but so was Family Matters. So I wore glasses, so I was compared to Urkel. So I always had to fight because I kept getting called Urkel. So I was always fighting. I was always getting in trouble. So I had that component, and then I had Bone Thugs, right? So there was times when cats didn't want to rock with me, and I wanted friends. So what I did was, using my marketing mind, even at that age, I would take Bone Thugs and Harmony's music from East 1999, that tape, and I would go home and I would write each of the lyrics out. And it would be a lot of play, stop, rewind, play, stop, rewind, play, stop, rewind, until I wrote every lyric down from Bone Thugs and Harmony on that project. Then I recited it. So this took about maybe a week, 2 weeks. When I came into school, finally, after memorizing everything, I was the only person who was able to understand and recite what Bone Thugs was saying. Because at that time, rapping fast was like a novelty. Nobody was rapping fast. You know what I
I was
mean?
gonna interrupt you to speak on that specifically. Like that back then was very, New York City was not necessarily the most accepting of
mm,
other regions,
Right.
and if our radio was not very accepting, though they were, right? Our radio would play the big hits, right? But it's not like you would catch the radio playing King T or DJ Quick, you know? And so, even more so in the streets, in the schools, that energy is reflected even more. And
Right.
like, if you're the guy that is into different type of hip hop from other regions, you're kind of looked at like what? Like what? What you listening to that for? You know, but then when you can do something like actually spit all the lyrics to something like Bone Thugs, which a lot of the people I was growing up around when Bone Thugs came out, it was just like, what the fuck are they saying? They didn't understand a word that they were saying. So to be the guy that be able to break that down for people, it's got to be a valuable asset back then.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And then you got to think, you know, and to add to his credit, you got to think they weren't like they were out before East 99. So East 1999, they had Thuggish Ruggish Bone. You know, they had the joint with Easy E, For the Love of Money, but they weren't playing that in New York. It was just being played on MTV. You had to catch the video on MTV. So when First of the Month came out, First of the Month was their real big hit. And they played that on New York radio and they played it on MTV. So I wanted to know the words to it and I wanted to use that to get friends in school. So I was able to go and recite Bone Thugs and Harmony in school. And it was like, what? It was unbelievable, you know, for like a 11-year-old, 12-year-old kid to be reciting Bone Thugs.
I feel that a lot actually, because I mean it's a little bit in the future, but I was like 12 years old. Granted, the internet existed, so I was printing out lyrics and basically trying to do the same thing to be cool in school. I'm not even gonna lie, straight up, I relate to that. Like, just I was great to listen to for me.